are really happy that he is a pharmacy postgraduate and MBA in HR management. Presently, he is a co-founder and CEO of OpEx Accelerator Private Limited, and also is the co-founder of the Seri Education LLP and the Plan B Digital Startup Media. We are really fortunate that, sir, to with us, because in your credential, you are recognized by Prime Minister's Office for promoting Make in India campaign for the pharmaceuticals. Your startup is listed in the best startups to look for in 2020 by Insight Success International Business Magazine. You are a certified trainer of the Infosys by the Infosys for the Global Business Foundation Skill Program, and you also entitled with the Smart Udyojak from the Mumbai Best Magazine. You have achieved many milestones in the training to the students, to motivate the students for the research, innovation, and for the startups. You have trained more than 10,000 students for the startups and skill development program across Maharashtra and across India. You are also authored the book, especially for the pharmaceutical interview guide. You are also a board member of many councils, many innovation councils, incubation centers, startup programs of many colleges, many institutions, and many organizations. Also, you are the coordinator of Make in India tour campaign, and also associate volunteer to enable India NGO in Goa. So we are really fortunate to have such an eminent personality who is having the vast experience, especially into the field of entrepreneurship and startup in healthcare system. So on the behalf of YBCOP College of Pharmacy, on the behalf of all the staff members, students, management, and all the participants, I welcome you, sir. And I really thank you for accepting our invitation and to enlighten us on this particular topic. So may I request you, sir, to start with your presentation, especially on this entrepreneur and startup in healthcare system. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I guess I'm audible. Please, just to check, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for having me here for this particular session on startup and entrepreneurship opportunities in healthcare. And this is basically a part of your institution's Innovation Council, that is IIC, which is basically run by Ministry of HRD, now Ministry of Education, under the aegis of Dr. Abhay Jere sir and AICT. And I appreciate all the efforts of your institution, including all the faculty members and the students, because you probably run all these activities in order to engage students, engage all the future entrepreneurs, so that we can see more number of health tech startups in upcoming times to come. Now, before I start this session, I just wanted to have three different things which I wanted to discuss, or which I wanted to propose in this particular session. Before that, I'll just open my presentation. Just a moment. Now, startup and entrepreneurship opportunities in healthcare. Now, mainly, there are multiple things to be discussed here, starting with startups. What is this all about? And entrepreneurship, what opportunities we have in the field of entrepreneurship. Now, whenever we consider this opportunity or this sector, when we consider this sector, we need to consider healthcare sector as in whole. We don't just have to focus only on pharmaceuticals, because we are, no doubt, we are pharmaceutical professionals. We are more healthcare professionals. So pharmaceuticals is basically a part of our entire healthcare sector. And because of this COVID, even in this post-COVID era, what we can sense in India, we have tremendous opportunities in healthcare sector. So here we need to consider healthcare as an opportunistic sector. And when we see healthcare, then we have different pillars for the entire healthcare. Like we have pharmaceuticals, we have medical equipments, we have diagnostic kits, we have pathology, we have nursing, we have physiotherapy, right? We have cosmeceuticals, we have nutraceuticals. So similarly, we have n number of subsectors in healthcare, and I'm going to discuss the entire ecosystem of our country where we see large number of startups are coming in. So when we consider healthcare, there are almost 5,000, more than 5,000 players are already there in our entire ecosystem. So you might have seen Pharmacy, you might have seen Practo, you might have seen 1mg app, you might have seen other healthcare startups as well, so which are growing like anything. So here, as a pharmaceutical professional, three things which we already have. Number one, the research component. The research component, all the students, postgraduate students, undergraduate students, all the faculty, all the research scholars, you already have your research component, right? Number two, we have the platforms like this IIC. I request all the members from Zoom, please mute yourself.
Hello, sir. Everybody is mute now.
Yes, yes, yes. Right. So yeah, I was talking about healthcare opportunities. So the startups like Practo, 1mg, Pharmacy, which are there in online pharmacy, I'm not going to debate on online pharmacy, it should be there or not, but I'm sharing you what is there in the market and how you need to gear up in this opportunistic market. So my session is divided into three parts. Number one, I'm going to share you the entire ecosystem of our country, the startup ecosystem for our country. Number two, I'm going to share you all the case studies of different healthcare startups in India. And number three, I'm going to share you the pain points in our sector through which you can ideate something, through which you can innovate something. So as I said, we already have three things in hand. Number one, the research component, which our faculty have, which our research scholars have, which our postgraduate and undergraduate students have. Number two, what we have, the platforms like incubation centers, IIC centers, EDC centers. And number three, we have clear-cut policies for our country so that we can initiate or we can implement all these activities in all, right? So here, when I say startup ecosystem for our country, even before that, let us first understand what is startup, because most of the students, they basically misunderstood this startup as any traditional business. Say, for example, let's take an example of any business. Say you have at Aurangabad, you might have seen the outlet of Wellness Forever, right? So Wellness Forever, they have excellent example of how a retail pharmacy can be, right? So for example, at Nasik, you have taken a franchisee of Wellness Forever and you have started a Wellness Forever at Nasik or at Pune. Then you cannot consider this business as a startup, because you have started right now, because you have started at young age, because you are the first generation entrepreneur for your in your entire family. You cannot become a startup, or you cannot become a startup founder. Startup is something where you innovate something in your business, right? So startup is basically a business with innovation. It should create a solution for problem. So whenever you create something, it may be a product or it may be a service, it can be anything. So when you create a product, then you basically falls into that category of startups. So right now we have excellent example ahead of us, like Paytm, we have Oyo, we have Ola, Uber, right? Amazon, we have Flipkart, we have Byju's, we have White Hat HR. So we have excellent startups in our country. And here, whatever startups like we have in for our entire nation, we can see that these startups are growing in the last 5 years. Okay, So as in, startup is basically a business with innovation. Okay, now let's check out the entire ecosystem in our country. So right now we have more than 38,000 startups which are recognized by government in India today. Okay, so the official startups which are recognized are more than 38,000. Now if you see this entire figure, in year 2016 we had only 516 startups which are recognized. Okay, now let's understand what is, or what do you mean by recognition. So as we all know, government of India is running Startup India campaign, Startup India policy under Niti Aayog. Okay, now as a part of this, they are running one portal, startupindia.gov.in. Okay, so the idea is, if you know that your startup, or if you feel that your business has innovation component, then you can register your business on this platform of startupindia.gov.in. If the scrutiny team, if the screening team finds that your business has innovation, then they will basically shortlist you and they will offer you certificate of recognition. Right now, certificate of recognition, getting certificate of recognition does not mean that you will get a funding for startups. It is just a certificate which will enhance your credibility, which will prove that you have the startup which you have basically has innovation component, right? So in 2016 we had only 516 startups. After 2 years we had more than 8,000 startups, 8,600, and today we have more than 38,000 startups. When we talk about healthcare startups, we have more than 5,000 startups today in healthcare startups in our country. Okay, there is increase in 45% investment recently in health tech startups, and more number of investment is expected in our country. Now, when we see sector-wise contribution for startups, Maharashtra is at #1 position in having majority of the startups. So state-wise, Maharashtra is at #1, Karnataka #2, Delhi #3. Okay. Now, city-wise, when we talk about city-wise numbers of all these startups, then Bangalore is the one who have highest or majority of the startups city-wise. So Bangalore, or in other words, we call Bangalore as the Silicon Valley of our country, right? So now, sector-wise distribution of all these startups. So majority of the startups in our country are in IT services, right? As we all know, the technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, data mining, all these technologies are basically replacing human, but they are being implemented at every industry, at every corporate. So maximum number of startups, majority number of startups are there in IT services, and then followed by #2, healthcare and life sciences, 9.1% as of now. But in the next 2 years, considering COVID, considering our disruption in healthcare, which we need to have, we are expecting in the upcoming 2 years, highest number of startups in India would be in healthcare and life sciences category. The potential which we have, considering all our healthcare sector and all the advancement, we should have majority of the startups in healthcare. Then #3, 7.6% in AR and VR, which is augmented reality and virtual reality. Then 4.4 in food and beverages. Next, 4.2% in agriculture, followed by 3.5% in finance and technology, 3.4% in retail and other, 3.3% in green technology, 3.1% in renewable energy, 2.8% in IoT, and so on. Now, right now, India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, which is, when we talk about the entire ecosystem of this planet, startup ecosystem in the world, the kind of efforts which we are taking right now in India, similar kind of efforts US has taken some 20-30 years back in early 1990s. And that's the reason why today we can see the startups from Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook, Airbnb, Twitter, even Instagram, all these startups, right? We can see here. So #1, The largest ecosystem on this planet is in US, more than 1 lakh startups US has. Number 2, as usual, China, where or a country for which we all are competing. So number 2 is China, number 3 is India. So right now we are also the home for 32, more than 32 unicorn startups. Now, what is unicorn startups? So when a startup, the turnover of any startup, it reaches to $1 billion, sorry, $100 billion, then we call these startups as unicorn startups, right? Now, similarly, the tech startups which you have now, the startups which basically utilizes any of the technologies. So number of tech startups, they are more than 5,000 in just 1 year in 2019. New startup addition every year, it reaches to 2,300. Now, one more interesting fact here, 68% of the startups are from metro cities like Bangalore, Delhi, NCR, and Mumbai. So these 3 cities, they form a base of 68% startups. Now, the startups which actually solves core India problems like pollution, population, accidents, women's safety, crime, waste water treatment or waste management. So similar kind of problems which we call as India's core problems, we have only 540 startups which actually focuses on solving India's core problems. Now, next we have is active incubators and accelerators. Now, incubators, like even government is proposing that every institution should have an incubation center. Now, basically incubation centers and accelerators, why we need to have these incubators and accelerators? The reason is these centers, incubators and accelerators, they basically play a role of facilitator. So whenever you need any support to start your business, whenever you need a support to start your startup, be it a space, be it infrastructure, be it utility, machine, funding, team, it can be anything. So these incubators or these accelerators will provide you all these assistance, right? And today we have more than 200 incubators, active incubators and accelerators in our country. Now next, advanced technology startups. Now advanced technology like analytics, artificial intelligence, IoT, cloud, whatever advanced technologies we have. See, right now we are in the era, like we call this era as industry 4.0 or industrial revolution, fourth industrial revolution. And we are surrounded by all these advanced technologies. Like even when you handle your smartphone, even your smartphone is surrounded by all these technologies, right? So even industries, even agriculture, even you consider any sector, all these sectors are being surrounded by all these technologies so that we can have minimum human efforts, maximum automation. And the level of automation which we have in all these sectors, similar kind of efforts or similar kind of automation is there in all startups as well. So advanced tech startups, we have more than 1700 advanced tech startups in our country. Now, one more interesting fact here is the average age of startup founder is 28. And that's the reason why we have this session for you, for all the youngsters. Because for us, when we consider India or when we consider Vision 2020, which was set by late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir, maybe some 10 to 15 years back, Vision 2020. So why he set Vision 2020? Because this is the year 2020 when we have the advantage of demographic dividend, where India is the youngest country on this planet, where we have more than 64% of the youngsters population. So right now the average age of any Indian is 28. Even the average age of India's startup founder is 28. So at this age, you can, learn, you can skill, upskill, reskill, all these things which are required for innovation, which are required to start a business. And as a result, we have 30% year-on-year growth rate in student startups as well. Now, what is student startup? Today, when we see IITs and IIMs, even from the last 3 to 4 years, the culture or the environment at all these premier engineering institutions, even premier management institutions, is changing. The students now, ultimately, even you as a pharma student, probably you have all your projects in during your third year and final year. You have some minor and major research projects. Even our MPharm postgraduate students, you have your projects. So as a part of your project, you research something, you innovate something. Some are the students who innovate something in laboratory, some innovate something in the market, right? But this research, in case of pharmaceutical or in case of pharma institutions, our research, unfortunately, our research, be it by any faculty or be it by any research scholar, we stop or we have our full stop on our research up till its publication or up till its presentation. So when we have this research and innovation, it is just for the sake of projects, it is just for the sake of publication. But logically, unless and until you commercialize or unless and until you bring your innovation, you bring your research into the market in order to reach to the society, it is of no use, right? So try to focus on your project in such a way that how you can commercialize these projects into a startup. And this is what IITs and IIMs or the students in IITs and IIMs are doing. Even right now, some of the premier institutions of Pune and Mumbai, these students they are doing the same thing. The second year and third year engineering and management students, they are starting their own startups, right? So by the time they graduate, they are not at all thinking or they are not at all worrying about their placements. They are not worrying about their packages, jobs, job location. No, absolutely no. They are thinking about how they can commercialize their project work and they can bring their product or services in the market, right? The best example which I can give you to all the pharmacy students is the example of Practo. Practo is the well-known startup. It is world's finest health tech startup, which was started by two engineering students at the age of 19, right? And these were the students, the co-founders of Practo. We are from NIT Bangalore. So during their project work, they found the pain points of getting appointments of doctors, right? And this pain point they started resolving by using a technology, by using an application in year 2008. And from that time onwards, then later they graduated, and today the Practo is the world's finest health tech startup, right? So even we have n number of examples when we talk about student startup, right? So my idea is, if you're innovating something, see, even most of the students, you are during your internship or project, you are well connected with hospitals, you are well connected with pathology labs, you are well connected with pharmaceuticals or pharmaceutical industries. Try to identify their problems. That's it. That's the first stage of any startup, to identify the pain points, the identify the problems. If you could just visit a hospital, spend entire day in a hospital, 9 to 6, spend entire day in a hospital, you will list down n number of problems in the hospital, right from getting entered in the hospital, meeting receptionists, meeting patients, meeting relatives of the patients, meeting hospital pharmacists, meeting the surgeons, doctors, meet everyone and list down problems. Come back, sit with your friends, sit with your faculty members and ideate how you can solve these problems, what solution you can bring down to cure or to optimize these solutions so that you can build a product, right? And when you innovate something, that's the first stage of the startup, and later on these incubation center or your IIC center or accelerators like us are there to help you to commercialize this product, right? So this is how you can ideate, this is how you can reach to the market. If, say for example, no doubt you are a pharma student, but you have more interest in agriculture. Say for example, you have more interest in pathology, you have more interest in food sector. No doubt, pharmacy is just your course, it's just your graduation, it's your degree. For business or to start any business, business doesn't require any qualification. I repeat, business does not require any qualification. The best example which we have is Mr. Dilip Sanghvi. Everyone knows Mr. Dilip Sanghvi, who is the chairman and MD of India's largest pharmaceutical company, Sun Pharma. Have you seen his qualification? He is just Bachelor of Commerce, right? But still, he is the second richest Indian, right? So for any business to start, it doesn't require any qualification. So if you have an interest in agriculture, see the market, study the market, learn the market, identify problems in agriculture, meet farmers, meet vendors, meet customers, try to list down their problems, and then sit with your friends, sit with your classmates, sit your mates, and ideate the solution. This is how startups work. Startup is not a rocket science, right? So this is how student startups are growing in India like anything. So there is a 30% growth rate in number of student startups, and even pharmaceutical institutions are coming with very good number of student startups in our country. Now let's discuss about some of the case studies of our startups or Indian startups. So on screen, what you can see, the subsectors of healthcare, right? Even the early part of the session, I was sharing like we should not consider just a pharmaceutical sector for startups. We should consider healthcare, right? So in healthcare, we have number of subsectors, starting with online pharmacy, personal health management, home health care, fitness and wellness, telemedicine, diagnostics, biotech R&D, medical devices, healthcare IT, biopharmaceuticals, genomics. So these are some of the subsectors. Even when you consider your education, whatever education we have during our B.Pharm or M.Pharm, we have that what I can say, the absolute knowledge or absolute theoretical knowledge of human body, and the subsectors which you can see here are basically connected with human body itself. So when you have studied pharmaceuticals, you have the entire knowledge of creating something or solving something. So try to fit your product in either of these subsectors so that you can bring your own innovation in the market. Now, let's have a look on the examples or respective examples in this category. But before that, if you are creating something, you should target your innovation in either of these segments. Your innovation should be a solution for creating affordable healthcare. That is number one. We should have a product, we should have a service which should promote affordable healthcare or preventive healthcare or portable medical devices. These are the top 3 target segments in India to create health tech startups. Now, these are some of the top Indian healthcare startups. We'll discuss one by one. So let us start with online pharmacy. So all the startups which are named here in this table in online pharmacy, you are or all the startups are popular. You already know all the startups like 1mg, Pharmeasy, Netmeds, Mera Medicare, Sasta SR, likewise. Next is personal health management, where we have My Upchar and CureJoy. Next, in medical devices category, we have UE Life Sciences and Forus Health. Then we have Beat-O, Wealthy Therapeutics, V Titans. Next is fitness and wellness, where we have Fiternity, CureFit, Healthify Me. Now, CureFit is a startup which was started by the same person who has started Jabong.com. Later on, he sold his Jabong.com startup to Flipkart, and then he started his own startup in healthcare by using a funding by a Bollywood celebrity, Hrithik Roshan. So Hrithik Roshan has invested 100 CR to start with this startup, CureFit. Next is Healthify Me. Next is GoQ. GoQ is promoted by one more Bollywood celebrity and sports influencer, Akshay Kumar. Even you might have seen the advertisements of GoQ. Then Health Card. Next is Home Healthcare. In home healthcare, we have Healthians. Healthians is the startup which is backed by cricketer Yuvraj Singh, who has invested 300 CR for this Healthians, which is a Delhi-based startup. Even when you just Google Healthians, visit their website, you can see some of the posters of Yuvraj Singh. So it is being promoted by Yuvraj Singh. Next is Call Health. Next is diagnostics. In diagnostics, we have the best healthcare startup of our country, which was even last year in 2020, it was awarded by Government of India, Niramai. So Niramai is basically a startup which solves the problem of painful diagnosis of breast cancers. So they are using AI and machine learning to optimize this, and we are going to discuss in detail about Niramai in latter part of this session. Next is healthcare IT. In healthcare IT, we have Practo, we have Innovator, HealthPlex, we have Pune-based startup Live Health, which was the founder of Live Health is Mr. Abhimanyu Bhosle, based in Pune. He started his venture in 2017, and on 27th of this month, we have one startup masterclass for healthcare startups, and we are fortunate that Mr. Abhimanyu Bhosle will be a part of the startup masterclass. Even I'm going to share you all those details as well in latter part of this presentation. Next is telemedicine. In telemedicine, Practo, Libred, DocsFine, MFine, these are some of the top healthcare startups in this category. So let's discuss one by one in short. Number one is Netmeds. So Netmeds is one of the biggest medical startups in India, and it is a leading online pharmacy. Netmeds was recently acquired by Reliance Group. Over millions of active customers and deliveries are there, and which are to the more than 19,000 pin codes. Next is Impactguru, one of the finest crowdfunding platform in healthcare sectors. Now what they do, now imagine a condition, or eventually you might have seen some of the emails or even some of the Facebook post of maybe of your relatives or friends, when they state like they have some cancer patients, or some of their friends are undergoing a liver transplant surgery, and they are looking for raising a fund of 25 lakhs and 30 lakhs, and it is not possible for everyone to generate these funds at this crucial time, or we call these emergency time. So at this point of time, what we do is we promote these things on social media so that we can get the donations, right? Even same is the case which we did for one of our classmates, and the entire alumni group of our Bharati Vidyapit, we raised fund some 14 lakhs of the fund which we generated by our alumni association of Bharati Pharmacy across all whatever alumni or whatever friends we have, so that we can support to the family of our classmate who we have missed last year. So this is the time where you require funds for these, for to recover these medical expenses. Now Impactguru is the one who solves this problem. How? If you know certain families, if you know certain friends who are looking for such kind of funds at emergency time, then you can initiate this process on impactguru.com. So impactguru.com is a crowdfunding platform which basically connects to all the individuals, NGOs and social enterprises, so that by using their platform they can create donations, they can raise the funds for this particular activity. So right now, over 20,000 patients have benefited by 2 lakh donors from Impactguru.com. This is Mumbai-based startup. Next is Plexus. So unlike other aggregators, Plexus is one of the startup which was founded by an IITian. Now, what this Plexus is doing now, like how you have community on Instagram, like how you have community on Facebook, how you have community on LinkedIn. Similarly, Plexus is a community of doctors where any doctor can join this particular platform and they can exchange their thoughts, ideas, help, support, networking. All kind of networking can be possible on this platform Plexus, right? So Plexus is absolutely a free platform, and it connects to 2.75 lakh doctors of our country. Next is Mera Medicare, which is founded by Pankaj Gupta, and Mera Medicare is online medical services, which includes medicines as well as uh, other diagnostic kits and medical devices as well. Care is one of the most innovative health tech startups in India. So what they do is they provide a facility to save medical documents, and you can access these documents at any corner at any time, which is stored on cloud. So we call this as MIS, Management Information System, right? So you can see any history of yours, any prescription, any report, anything, or whatever records you have saved, you can see all these records at any time. Next is Practo, which was founded by Shashank and Abhinav in 2008, and this is today a world's leading healthcare platform, right? So basically Practo, they right now they have over 2 lakh doctor profiles and 5,000 diagnostic centers which are based in 35 cities. Next is Pharmacy. So Pharmacy is one more Mumbai based platform in online pharmacy which was founded by Mr. Dharmil Seth in 2015. So currently Pharmacy is operating in 7 cities including Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Kolkata, Pune and Jaipur. Next interesting startup in healthcare is BloodSure. Now what BloodSure is doing, like how we have discussed the aggregator platform or a community platform of Plexus, similarly BloodSure is a platform of blood donors, right? So here, say consider you are at any at any remote village where you do not have access to any clinic or any blood bank is absolutely a clueless thing for a remotely accessible villages. Suppose you do not have any clinic there and you require emergency blood. Say for example, you require O negative blood group during some emergency time in your village, and the nearest town for your village has some 1 hour or 2 hour journey. At this point of time, you have to just open BloodSure application, and here you have to just report your location, which will be tracked by GPS, and you have to just enter your requirement, right? So for example, your requirement is O negative. Now what this application will do is application will find nearest O negative blood donor from your village. Maybe he is 1 hour journey, maybe he is nearby, so that you can have access to that blood donor at any time and you can get the blood. So ideally what we do is at this crucial time, what we do is we basically ask our relatives, we ask our friends whether any of them have O negative blood group, and similarly we try to manually try to build this community so that we can get these blood donors or platelet donors, right? Even during this pandemic, the platelet donations or there was that emergency of getting some platelet donors, active platelet donors in our country. So BloodSure, right now they have a strong community, over 1.25 lakh active donors, and these active donors are in India, Bangladesh and Nepal. So BloodSure has been able to reach 15,000 patients so far. Next is Niramai. So Niramai is basically a Bangalore-based startup which uses AI and machine learning for pain-free breast cancer screening. Okay, So it was founded in 2016. So right now, whatever cancer hospitals we have, and the diagnosis process of breast cancer is basically a painful process, and it requires more time as well as more money as well. But by using a tool by Niramai, within 15 minutes, we can initiate the process of diagnosing a breast cancer, which is at early stage. Okay, so its screening device can detect tumors 5 times smaller than what a clinical examination can catch. So last year, Government of India has awarded Niramai as the best healthcare startup in India. Just a moment. Okay, so next is Live Health. Now, Live Health, as I said, a startup by Mr. Abhimanyu Bhosle from Pune. He started this Live Health, and Live Health is unlike Ekin Care. Live Health is basically a management information system, or MIS healthcare provider, which collects samples, manage patient records, diagnose them. They generate reports. Uh, they maintain billing, inventory. Even they can connect with your health insurance provider as well, right? So for example, if your health insurance provider is Star or Apollo or Reliance or any other health insurance provider, then even the insurance company connects with your own login on health Live Health, so that the billing and the inventory will be proceeding faster directly to the hospitals. So this uses AI, which process millions of medical records and ERP transactions. Next is Emergency. So this is a Mumbai-based startup. So basically, this is a mobile application which connects people who need emergency, right? So whenever we have seen at a time when we see any accidents, at that point of time, we call these as ultra emergency, where you need to have the emergency services, or first, more than first aid services, you need to have entire paramedics, nurses, ambulances at that particular location, because we have seen at the time when accidents happen, till that time when he reaches to the hospital, most of the patients or most of the victims, they basically prone to, you know, have seen death because of not maintaining this emergency. So at this point of time, where you will have doctors, nurses, paramedics, ambulance, and all other first aid assistants all on one platform, right? So what we do today is we call 108, and then we wait for emergency service or ambulance. Similarly, emergency is the one where you have to just log in, you have to just enter the location, and you will get your emergency or the emergency response. So this app has responded to over 3 lakh emergencies till date, which has helped patients during their critical hours, right? Now, today in India, the highest death occurs are because of accidents. They are not because of cancer or COVID, they are because of the accidents. And that's the reason we should develop some mechanisms, some innovative solutions, so that we can avoid these accidents or accidental deaths. And that's the reason why even emergency, why even the great Ratan Tata sir has shown interest in this startup, and he has invested recently, he has invested in this startup as well. So right now they have received $2 million funding, and this startup was started in year 2016. Next is Bagmo. So Bagmo is a Kochi based startup which addresses the lack of blood availability in rural area. So as I said earlier, for blood sugar, similar kind of problem Bagmo is solving. Only thing is the temperature, or the Bagmo, they basically have a blood bag monitoring device, and which monitors the temperature of the blood bags during this transportation, right? Next is Wafer Chips Techno Solutions, which, you know, monitors ECG, and like how we have our pen drive, similar kind of device they have created, which can enable you to use AI to generate a clinically actionable report for further diagnosis. Even you can connect this with your Android application via Bluetooth as well. Next is EasyRx. So EasyRx is Kolkata-based startup, and it was founded in year 2018. And what they do is they basically create affordable and non-invasive solutions for chronic diseases, right? So their first product, AJO, which stands for anemia, jaundice, and oxygen saturation. This is basically an IoT-based device. Now, what this do is they promote test for anemia, liver and lung related diseases, that too within less than 1 rupee. So this is innovation or a cheaper innovation which promotes all these diagnostic tests. Next is MediAsha. So MediAsha is a Pune-based startup. At Pune, we have COEP, College of Engineering Pune, and COEP has an incubation center which is Bhavi Incubation Center. So Bhavi in Marathi is like big brother, right? So similarly, Bhavi Incubation Center is in a role of supporting a startup like a big brother, and that's the reason why they have named this incubation center as Bhau, PHAU. Okay. Now, MediAsha is one of the startup at this Bhau Incubation Center, and what they have did is they have created a Fracto Aid product. And what is this Fracto Aid? So Fracto Aid is basically an orthopedic splint, right? And this provides a early and instant immobilization, right? So consider a case where students are playing in the playground and suddenly a small accident happens and a kid has that fracture on his right leg or right elbow. So at this very point, no doubt we have our first aid kit at school and colleges, but we do not have something through which we can create a plaster, or we can create instant mobilization of this fractured limb or any of the limbs. At this point of time, you can use this Fracto Aid. Now, what is this Fracto Aid? Just like a handkerchief, it is a material which he has prepared by using silicone. Just like a cotton or just like a handkerchief, you can keep it in your Fracto in your first aid kit. Once you require this, you have to just open it, you have to remove it from your first aid kit, you have to soak in a water, and you have to roll on affected area. Suppose that kid has injury or a fracture on his right elbow, then eventually what you have to do is you have to pour this soak this Fracto Aid a cloth in water, and then you have to wound it along with some of the pin-ups which they have created, and you have to set it for 5 minutes. So within 5 minutes, the functional strength of this Fracto Aid or this orthopedic splint gets achieved. So just like your fracture, this can be possible even at your place, even at your ground itself. So this basically solves the problem. Similarly, like how we have seen different prosthetics, you might have seen prosthetics. So similarly, COEP Pune at Bhau Incubation Center, they are creating some prosthetic ears as well, ears and nose as well. So for those who does not have their, or who have lost their ears or earlobes or nose during any accidents, or many of the soldiers, they have lost their ears and nose or fingers during the war. So these kind of patients can be treated here by using this prosthetic limbs, which are basically created by silicone molds by using 3D printers, and even it is available in market. So these kind of products can solve customers' pain point. And the last one is Inito. So Inito is basically one more startup which was created by IIT alumni. So it is a Bangalore-based startup which was founded in 2015. So they have created a device which is under home care device. So this device you can connect to a smartphone and you can analyze the trend of data which is collected using AI and ML. Okay, so this is basically a device where you can use your blood sample and you have to just plug in to your smartphone, or you can connect this with Bluetooth as well, so that whatever diagnostic test you do at pathology labs, you won't have to visit these pathology labs for all these routine tests like vitamin or thyroid or any other lifestyle conditions. Okay, so you have to just pour your sample in this kit, and you can see all your data, all your results on your smartphone. Okay, so this is most convenient way to have these uh, test and their records by using this Inito app. Okay, and now the third and last part of the session, the pain points in healthcare sector. So right now we have seen, number one, the ecosystem in our country for startups. Number two, what we have seen are the case studies of healthcare startups. And number three, what is there for you, or how you can ideate, how or what is the next step after this session. So as I said earlier, you can eventually visit any of the hospital and you can list down the problems which are associated with our healthcare sector, so that you can ideate, so that you can uh, solve, you can innovate something to solve these problems. Okay, now let's understand pain points in our healthcare sector. So number one, the reason why Indian healthcare is one of the very last industries to be disrupted by technology, the only reason is we cannot afford to experiment on our patients. Like suppose you are an uh, automobile engineer and you have created a kit which you can use in any engine, which can basically solve a problem of noise, or basically it will give you higher side of mileage to your vehicle. Then you can go on having a trial and error for your kit, and you can try it on all the vehicles or maximum possible vehicles. Even same is the case with any Android application. You can go on trial and error, but it is not possible in case of healthcare, because whatever solutions we need to optimize, or whatever products we need to build, these products are subject to patients, and you cannot experiment on your patients. And that's the reason why Indian healthcare is one of the very last industries to be disrupted by technology. Now India's population is reaching to 1.4 billion by 2025, and half of this age will be at the age of 30, right? On other hand, what we see here is 930 millions, they have direct access to cell phones but do not have access to clean water. Now that's the irony in our country. We do not have any central regulatory authority of health which ensures services, and most of the citizens are uninsured. We do not have that kind of health insurance regulation in our country. There is only one government hospital bed in every 2046 patients, while US has 345 beds. And that's the need which we can, the opportunity for telemedicine startup is there, right? Because we do not have so many government hospitals or government clinics, and that's the reason we should have more number of telemedicine applications or telemedicine services for our rural India. There is only one government doctor in every 10,189 patients, while US has 24.5 doctors. 76% of Indians do not have health insurance, and this basically results in having high out of pocket expenses which are incurred by our citizens. A survey conducted later last year showed that 88% of patients would switch to another provider if they were not satisfied with the existing one, right? Even maybe some 10 to 15 years back, we did not see any of the advertisements of hospitals, but today what we see is, even like how we have hoardings for our commercial products or the food products or FMCG products or cosmetic products, even our traffic signals of our city, right now we can see the commercial hoardings of our hospitals, right? Angioplasty surgery or angiography or even liver transplant or even whatever things hospitals provide, we can see the large number of commercial advertisements are even hospitals are doing. This is because now the commercialization of hospitals are, getting on another side, and because patients, they have access to multiple doctors, multiple hospitals, 88% of patients would switch to another doctor or another provider because if he is not satisfied, right? So this indicates that even at our early age, what we have seen, we used to have, only one family doctor. Whatever is there, you have to consult to your family doctor. But today it is not the case. You have options now, and because of this commercialization, the entire system is again getting disturbed. Now, speaking about the good thing, the only good thing which has been happened in the last 5 years is, or we can consider a fortunate thing, is that the onset of technology which people are using, or the ease with which these people are using, is they can Google anything, right? And that's the reason, even when you before you visit any doctor, what you do simply is you Google your symptoms, right? So even most of the people, before they visit any hospital or any clinic, they are even, when you are at waiting room in the hospital, what you do is you Google your symptoms, right? And that's the only positive thing which we can see in the entire healthcare industry by using the technology. One more unfortunate thing for all of us being a pharma professional is most of the healthcare startups in India have been created by engineers. They are created by engineers who have very little idea about what a regular day in the life of a doctor looks like, right? So if you want to create something, you should be, or you should team up with engineer, right? Because you as a pharma professional, you as a healthcare professional, you understand entire healthcare sector, you understand process, you understand medication, you understand the mentality of doctor as well as patients. Only thing which we do not have as a healthcare professional is the use of technology, right? If I have something in my mind and I want to build a product, I need to use a technology like AI and ML and other technologies. At that point of time, you can take help of engineers, you can team up with engineers, you can get these engineers as your co-founder, right? So what we need to really do, have integrating 7-star technologies. Now these 7-star technologies are AI, ML, augmented reality, virtual reality, cloud computing, big data. These are the 7-star technologies, and you have to integrate these technologies if you want to sustain in this market, right? Now let's see one more example of student startup, and this is probably the last slide. After that, we will have a Q&A session. So this is a Mumbai-based student startup who got 15 lakh rupees funding, and he's projecting a turnover of 35 lakhs in next 3 years. So what he did is, this is one of the startup which was there in Vishwaniketan Incubation Center near Panvel, and a second year mechanical engineering student. What he did is, he has created his startup, an Android application, and here, if you need any help of panditjis who do go on having some rituals and traditions, then you can simply log into this app. The name of this god is Guruji on Demand, and there you can create, or you can make inquiries of your rituals or the type of puja which you want to have in your home. And similarly, the app will recommend the panditjis which have higher ratings by the customers, and then you can connect with these panditjis and you can have your all activities done. So he has launched this startup in Pune and Pimpri Chinchwad in year February 2018, and He's expecting a turnover of 35 lakhs in the next 3 years. So the idea is before he graduate, he can have his 30 lakh rupees of his entire business from his own idea. Okay, so he was, when we asked him how you ideated or how you brainstorm this idea, is he has gone through a case study of Ola and Uber somewhere, and then he got an idea of aggregator sector. Many of the startups today we have is Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber. These are nothing but aggregators. They aggregate all the services, right? Even Flipkart and Amazon, they are aggregators. They aggregate buyers and sellers on one platform. Similarly, what he is doing is he is aggregating Panditjis and he is aggregating common people on single platform so that they can connect with each other and the problems will be solved. So this is a aggregator startup which he has solved, which he has started. Okay, so now before I end up, in case if you want any kind of startup stories or updates on startup or all the information on startups, you can join this Plan B startup community, which is absolutely free. What you have to really do is you have to just save this number as 9552206644. You have to just save this number as Plan B, and then you have to just WhatsApp yes to this number so that you can the startup community, you will be a member of the startup community and you will go on receiving messages on startups, the ecosystem information, funding schemes related with anything which is related with startup. You can get in on your WhatsApp itself. And the one thing which we are starting from this 26th of Feb for all the medical, pharmacy and other paramedical institutions and students and researchers and faculty, 1 week startup masterclass for healthcare startup. I'll just share you the brochure of this so that you can be also a part of this. Just a moment. So this is a national workshop on entrepreneurship for pharma and healthcare startups. So we have with us, can you see this slide, sir? Sir,
We
can
are
you see?
able to see, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
So we have invited distinguished speakers and the startup founders for this program. Mr. Muthu Singaram will be there, who is the CEO at IIT Madras, HTIC Incubator. Now, HTIC Incubator, it is Healthcare Technology Incubation Center, which is there at IIT Madras, one of the top and premier healthcare technology incubation center in our country. So he is the CEO of IIT Madras Incubator. Next, Abhimanyu Bhosle, he is the CEO of Live Health from Pune. Next, Mr. Vivek Mishra, who is the CEO of Fibrohill Wound Care Private Limited. Now, what Vivek is actually doing is he is extracting silk proteins and he is using these silk proteins to cure wounds. Okay, so even Fibrohill is doing wonders. Next is Mr. Niranjan Swami, who is the founder and CEO of medapp.in, where basically all the pharmaceuticals and medical services are there on this application medapp.in. So Niranjan Swami is basically from Bangalore. Next we have is Aditi Kulkarni. She is into medical equipments. So Prasaditi Medical Equipments, where she is developing some of the great medical equipments and diagnostic kits. Next, along with me, Anjori Parandekar would be there. She is into Siri EduTech, which is into skilling healthcare professionals and recruiting them on online platform. Next we have is Vishal Daddikar, who is connected with the well-known Dr. Lalpath Labs. And next we have is Dr. Aditya Arvindekar, who is the director at Ayurasia Herbals Private Limited. So these are the distinguished speakers and entrepreneurs for this particular program. This is a 1 week program where on day one, we will have healthcare startup ecosystem and the sector specific case studies. On day 2, we will have problem analysis and how to generate idea for startups. So right from having design thinking approach, how you can use this design thinking approach for startups, how to find out pain points of customer, how to find out solution of the problem, idea validation. On day 3, we have market analysis, how to have market analysis for startups, how to find out first market or first customer, then customer behavior. On day 4, how to create prototype or working model, or we call it as MVP, minimum viable product. So there you will learn everything about basics of prototyping, techniques of MVP. Then on day 5, we will have fundraising, how to raise funds for startups, then legal foundation for startups. And last, the most important part is concept to company. That is how to create a business model, how to commercialize your research. So even this is highly recommended for all the faculty researchers as well, all the PhD researchers, postgraduate researchers as well. They can be a part of this program, so that whatever innovation they have, whatever research you have, you can see how you can commercialize your own innovation, your own research. So this is organized by us as a startup accelerator in collaboration with Enrich Startup Center, which is our uh, one of the operating partner. OpEx is one of the operating partner for this Enrich Startup Center, which we have started at Andhra Pradesh. This is supported by MIT Pune, NRIT, and HTIC. So even you can get all the details on our official website www.opexindia.com, so that if you are interested to start with your own healthcare startup, or if you are interested to know how healthcare startups actually can be possible, you can be a part of this program, and you can get all the details on our website itself. So with this, I conclude this session. And once again, I'm thankful to Lahoti sir for having me here. I am thankful to entire management and all the faculty members of your institution for inviting me for this particular session. I'm thankful to students as well. But before I conclude this session, I'll just check what are the questions in live chat box so that I can answer them. So even I request
So
students.
questions are not there in the live chat box.
Okay.
Questions are not there.
I appeal students, in case if you have any questions which are related with healthcare startups or anything which is related with pharmaceutical startups, you can ask your questions in live chat, which is there in on YouTube, so that we can discuss more on that.
So till that, sir, I'm having one question in my mind.
Yes, sir.
Just sir, my son is there in IIT Kharagpur in final year.
Okay.
And recently he has registered one startup by the name of Expozilla LLP.
Okay.
You know that, sir, there was basically a problem of exhibitions because of this COVID.
Right, sir.
And he has developed an online exhibition platform with all the facilities which are with the actual physical exhibition and more than that. And we also had one of the trial exhibition with the Education Expo. We had recently held up the Education Expo, and we got a response of almost 60 colleges are participated in that Education Expo.
Oh, perfect. That's cool.
So the thing is that, sir, then how to get the funding for that for further, because the marketing is the important part. Technical part is over. The expo is running very well, but how to reach to the students and the public?
Yes. Now there are two things for this question. Yes. So there are two things. Number one is marketing, right? Now these kind of products or these kind of services, they require rigorous marketing, like how we see on Facebook and Instagram. There are some companies who go on, pushing or hammering all their advertisements, like how we have seen the advertisement campaigns of White Hat HR. 6 साल का बच्चा coding सीख सकता है, likewise. Similarly, we should to have hammering of all these advertisements so that we can attract customers, so that we can attract all these vendors for to opt this particular services. Now related with funding, now funding is possible, there are multiple ways through which you can get the funding. Like number one is crowdfunding, number two is bank loans, number three is investors, be it angel investors or venture capitalists, or there are some schemes, maybe in MSME or SIDB. So there are multiple schemes through which you can have this funding. But before that, you should have early traction of 3 months, right? Once you have the 3 months traction of your customers, their feedback, and the entire product is developed, then you can approach to the investors, then you can propose your return on investment plans to these investors, and eventually you can have funding as well.
So it is registered, sir. It is registered by the Government of India. We got the registration certificate also for that.
Great. Then getting funds is easier once you approach maximum customers. Initial traction, initial 100 customers should be there so that you can attract investors.
Okay. Because already participation was there. So trial run was very successful. So we are going for the next then. So,
right.
I think there are no questions. Another question is there, sir. Just if you just highlight some different stages, like ideation stage and the stages are there for the startups. Maybe in short.
Okay. Yes. So ideally, there are 2 stages for student startups. Number one is idea to prototype. Like for example, today you have identified a problem in any hospital, and when you ideate something through your friends, through your classmates, through your faculty, you ideate something. It maybe it is feasible or it may not be. It's the question of execution. But today, if you have ideated something, then the first stage of startup is idea to prototype, right? For example, if you have any idea of creating some app, then it is like a process that you will design that particular application on a piece of paper, and you will create at least a prototype, a working model. So that is the first stage. Number two is once you have a product, once you have a prototype, then the next stage is prototype to product, right? Where you actually have to work on market, you have to work on pricing, you have to work on strategies, you have to work on funding, you have to work on team, right? So number one, that is idea to prototype, it is more on research and innovation, while number two, that is prototype to product, it is more on business management, right? So ideally, these are the 2 stages of student startups: idea to prototype and prototype to product.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Any questions are there? I think there is no questions from the student, because students are really amazed with your ideas. They might be busy in the thinking how to start.
Right.
Really, sir, before this particular lecture, what we are thinking of when we talk about any healthcare startup or the pharmacy startup is only online pharmacy. But after this informative session, we got excellent and amazing ideas how the startup can be. For example, our Impactguru, which is for the social health, online social help, or the Plexus, which is for the online medical help, or that may be that is skincare, that is for MIS and documentation. Then blood sugar, which is for the blood donations, or the Niramai for the artificial intelligence, or maybe then Bagmo or emergency is really excellent and very useful startup, which is been given by the startups. So there are many startups are there, and many amazing ideas are there which are really needed by the society. So thank you very much, sir. You are given us idea and really a path of thinking. So definitely it will be helpful for the students who are participated, not only the students, also the faculties. Because, sir, what I think here, maybe the syllabus of our universities is not creating that much of things, or maybe into the minds of the students. So it is the need of a time to change this particular syllabus also, that the students can think in that particular way. So thank you very much, sir, for your informative lecture on this particular topic, and you have motivated us to think in these directions to start something amazing for the healthcare system. And I think,
Right,
sir, this
sir.
definitely initiate a nucleus of thinking into the minds of the students to start
Right, sir.
innovative things. So they will only not think of the going going for the jobs, or then definitely they will think of something amazing for the startups. So on the behalf of YB Chauhan College of Pharmacy, also on the behalf of our institutions innovation council and industry institute interaction cell of YB Chauhan College of Pharmacy, principals, staff, students, and the management, I'm thankful to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time and sharing your valuable thoughts with us. And thankful to all the members of Institution Innovation Council and Industry Institute Interaction Cell for this cooperation for arrangement of this particular workshop. And I'm thankful to all the participants and students for your patience listening. Thank you very much, sir. Just there was one announcement is there for all the participants. You will get a link on your registered email ID. Just you give your feedback on that particular email so that you will get a certificate immediately. So thank you very much for all the participants.
Yes.
So anything
Yes,
else you want to
so
share
much,
with, sir? Thank you, sir, for your.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So
Thank you.
shall we end our
Yes.
session?